And welcome back to Zanpakuto theory video. Hey, you remember that guy, that awesome Soul Reaper who took over for Ichigo's position as the Soul Reaper, candidate who was in charge of Kurakura Town? Neither do I, but he's got a Zanpakuto that we actually learned a name of, so let's do a theory video on it. Zennosuke Kurumadani, if I got that right. He was the Shinigami replacement for Rukia Kuchiki, and by that extension, technically Ichigo, but for Karakura Town. And yeah, he's pretty much, he's one of those guys who thinks he's all that hot shit and all that, but he's really not. Unfortunately, but it does seem like he did have some capability. I mean, he actually did try to even stop Aizen in the fake Kurakura Town arc, so there you go. I mean, he's not completely without some capabilities. It's unknown which squad he belongs to, but he's clearly, whether or not he's a seeded Soul Reaper is unknown. I would have to believe with the Shikai, with a decently powerful Shikai too. Like, his Shikai's not weak, believe it or not. And the fact that he knows his Shikai tells me he's probably seated in one of the divisions. Given his personality, it's likely that he's probably from either, and this is just my speculation, he's either from the 5th, the 7th, or the 8th. That just because his personality reminds me a little bit of Tetsuya Fuji and Choji. That guy Chad beat, who was part of Squad 8. His personality does remind me a bit of that. But the little bit of elitism kind of reminds me a bit of, Byakuya to some degree. So maybe because he thinks he's in Squad 6, he's hot shit. But at the same time, his design gives me a weird Squad 7 vibe. So if he's in whichever squad he's in, he's clearly in a squad. He has to be in a squad to be given the reign of, being in charge of Karakura Town, which is a very important town, by the way. Soul Society acknowledges that. They clearly have some level of ability or confidence in his ability. But anyway, his Zanpakuto, okay, let me see if I can pronounce this right. Tsuchichina Amazu, which translates, roughly speaking, into either soil catfish or earth catfish. And sealed form, its release is good morning! Good morning, Tsuchina Matsu, Vietnam. And actually, this is one of those swords that really changes from, just this, looking like a different type of sword, say, Renji's or Isane's or Yumajika's does. The Yumajika's is very different. To changing into a completely different type of weapon. It takes the form of a wind and fire wheel with a wooden handle embedded in the blade. The handle is wrapped in a blue fabric that descends in the form of 2 small ribbons, which are further accentuated by the addition of a small golden bell at either end. Looking at this thing, this is a unique kind of weapon. Now, it's clear this isn't very useful in melee combat per se. It still has the blade. It still could be used for punching or, for quick jabbing strikes. But in terms of true combat, sword combat, this isn't really a blade that's very well designed for that. And the reason it's not very well designed for that is the round shape of it. Wow, you're not going to be able to hold someone there because it's just going to slide right off. Now, that could work in your favor when an opponent's trying to maybe strike at you and they glance the blow off and you just roll the blow off or the strike off. But in your case, you're not going to be able to really get any distance strikes on there. It's like it doesn't have the range of a sword anymore. You're going to have to get in close. That said, if you were to train with this enough, you can see it's got this little handle right. You can't see my mouse, obviously, or my cursor, but right above his fist, there's this open spot here and then there's that weird, almost Stonehenge-looking guard beneath that, or in front of that, on top of that. Think words here. And then obviously you got the hollow. You could use this in theory as a good melee, disarming weapon if you trained with it enough. Get in close and then get the round part of your blade in there, and then dislodge the sword out of your opponent's hand. Train enough with that could actually be a very effective weapon that way. But its Zanpakuto ability is by slamming into it, simultaneously piercing the ground, Tsuchina Mazu is able to fissure a significant portion of the surrounding earth and cause the resulting shards to rise upwards. These shards can assume the form of sharp spikes that are capable of impaling enemies. Zennosuke has been shown able to use these fragments of earth to fashion a primitive cage to completely trap the opponent. So, I should know, I made a point when I talked about Tetsuzayamon theorizing he might have an Earth-type Zanpakuto, that we don't get a lot of Earth-type Zanpakutos. And hell, one of the only Earth Zanpakutos we even know about is the filler Zanpakuto. But I'll be honest, when I said that, I actually had completely forgotten about this guy's Zanpakuto. And again, give him credit for a Zanpakuto. It's actually not a bad Zanpakuto. Like, it's got potential to it. Now, I have to believe it will work on other substances too. Like if it hit sand, it would do the same thing. Maybe it would condense the sand into stone. If it hit wood, it would do something similar with wood. But generally speaking, it seems to work predominantly with earth. And that's cool, whatever. And yeah, I mean, he used it against, the only time I'm showing him get it is against Aizen, who had evolved at that point, an evolved Aizen. I'm like, it sucks that, we don't see this guy in an actual fight, because I would like to actually see how this thing handles against, like, hollows or something, or, weaker Shinigami. Because it seems like a pretty decent Zanpakuto overall. So then the question becomes, what would a Bankai for this sword look like? Would the Shikai itself change form again? Would it not change form and be more of a Kita? Because it's clearly an elemental type Zanpakuto. So, we're looking at other elemental type Zanpakutos. Does the sword change that much? With Ryojin Jika, it does not. Hell, even in Bankai, where it does see a little bit of change, it just looks like a burnt sword. With Tobayume, which is an elemental type as well, it's a fire type, that one does change its form. That one does physically change the shape of the Zanpakuto. Hyorimaru, the only thing Hyorimaru actually does is grow a chain with a moon sickle on the end of it. So that's all Hyorimaru does. Rukia's technically is a cold-based Zanpakuto, but you can consider it ice. The Shikai changes it does change. It still looks like a sword, but it's a very white, beautiful sword. The Bankai doesn't change that at all very much. There are no wind-based Zanpakutos, really. Lightning, Goroyomaru turned into a rapier, but we don't know what its Bankai did, if the Bankai changed its shape at all. From what we can gather from elemental Zanpakutos, generally, they don't usually change their shape unless the Shikai has already changed the shape. Then you can go from there and figure, and then there you had Najibana, who was, that definitely changed its shape a bit, from a sword to a trident. Given the way this thing's shaped, I have to believe that the Bankai also continues to change the sword's design. Now, what would the sword actually look like? Well, to me, that depends on what the Bankai actually does. The Bankai clearly would be a larger variation on the Shikai, because that's what all these elemental Zanpakutos ultimately do. Unlike, say, like Shunsui's Katenkyotsu, which brings children to his life and then brings a play to life, which is related but very different aesthetics, and very kind of different effects going on with it. The elemental Zanpakutos that we've seen really don't do much apart from exasperate the effect of the Shikai. They just increase beyond, and probably have some more techniques along with it too, but they don't do much beyond increasing the effect of the element they use. So again, Ryujin Jika, just more concentrated fire, more fiercer fire. Hyorimaru, larger ice, more control over ice. Goroyomaru Zanpakuto, whose name I cannot remember for the life of me right now. Just a larger blast of lightning, I'm guessing, because we never see Goroyomaru's Shikai in effect, unless you're counting the Zanpakuto filler arc. Urukia's, it's just a giant flash freeze. So I'd have to assume that his Bankai acts the same way. Now, his Bankai, causes earth to rise into giant spikes, attack an opponent, or seal up an opponent. So, and a larger effect that would probably be just the Bankai maybe actually causes like a massive earthquake. So first off, you get the effect of a giant earthquake, maybe upon release, and then upon the release, all the earth you just like cracked open rises up, and it's like a hailstorm of stalagmites and stalactites. Basically, you can there's probably more techniques. You can cause earth to rise and surround your opponent. You can maybe even like create a giant fist of earth. Maybe you're literally manipulating earth itself in this Bankai, which would be really cool. So what I could see this Bankai looking like in terms of what the sword is that he slams it down his Zanpakuto down on the ground again, like he does for the Shikai effect. Only he yells, "Boom! No effect adds." He yells, "Bankai! Spiritual pleasure, spiritual release." Goes crazy, and all of a sudden his body, like his arms, and the earthquake happens, and his arms are kind of not actually fused, but he's got like these giant bracer gauntlets when maybe like the blades on his shoulders kind of like this effect, but he's kind of not moving in the earth. That would be like the downside of this Bankai, is you're kind of stationary while using it, but while you're using it, you're pretty much manipulating the earth around you. Maybe he even creates arms that'll be like, oh, it's like, I might not be able to move. I can actually remember his voice, surprisingly enough. I may not be able to move in this Bankai, but that doesn't, my hands may be frozen, but the earth is my hands, baby. Is that right? And all of a sudden, a giant fist comes out and punches the enemy. Puh! Told you, baby. The earth is my arms. Now let's rock and roll. So, and if I remember correctly, that is what he sounded like. Me and Carrie are my girlfriend are gonna rewatch the Bleach at some point, because we haven't even finished the Fullbring arc. We were on the Fullbring arc, but we got to watch Bleach, and then we'll probably rewatch stuff again. But yeah, if I remember correctly, that's what he sounded like. He's like, Zennosuke Kurumadani. He's lazy, but he's a fun character. And I gotta admit, he's got a cool Zanpakuto. It's a unique Zanpakuto. Like, it's a very uniquely shaped Zanpakuto. It actually has a pretty solid ability, in my opinion. Just sucks the only time we ever see him use it is against Aizen, of all people. So it just doesn't matter how cool the ability is. It does not matter. But ultimately, yeah, I think that's what a Bankai for his Zanpakuto would look like. But ultimately, that's just my opinion. And I don't know what exactly the name of this Bankai would be. Its name, Tsuchichina Mazu, translates into earth or soil catfish. So something that goes along with that, it would be maybe deep water guardian, deep earth guardian catfish or something like that. Or I don't know. I'm spitballing here. So either way, that's my thoughts on this possible Bankai. But what do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. And ideas for who would win, Star Wars, Superior, Magic, what if, anything to do in the channel. Put that in the comments below. I'll get to that at some point. So I got the Shinigami Captain class video to do later. And I got my last what if for the week of what ifs. Which will just be Goku training with King Kai again. So until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you next time.